Hello and welcome to episode number 211 of the Bible Difficulties and Answers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Smith, and today we're stepping into a question that sounds simple, feels technical, and turns out to be surprisingly important. Let me start with a few questions. Why does the Bible give us the exact same census number, 603,550, twice? In two different books on two different dates? Was the census recorded in Numbers chapter 1 already taken in Exodus? If so, why repeat it? And if not, why do both censuses land on the same total? And finally, when modern readers hit passages like this, should we read them as careful history or as something more symbolic, even legendary? Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. Lance, a census in Numbers? Really? That's the biblical equivalent of opening an Excel spreadsheet. But stay with me, because spreadsheets matter when someone starts claiming the numbers don't add up. Our question today is this. Numbers chapter 1, verse 46. Was this census made here or earlier? Here's the difficulty as it's often presented. Exodus tells us that the tabernacle was erected on the first day of the first month of Israel's second year after leaving Egypt. But Numbers opens by dating its census to the first day of the second month of that same year. Yet both passages give us the same total. The total number was 603,550, Numbers 146. Short and sweet. And that raises a natural question. If a census was already taken in Exodus, why take another one? And if Numbers is reporting a new census, why does it produce the same number? Norman Geisler and Thomas House summarized the issue and their solution in the Big Book of Bible Difficulties. Their answer is straightforward. These are two different censuses taken for two different purposes, very close together in time. That might sound too neat at first, but as we work through the text, it fits remarkably well. Let's begin exactly where Numbers begins. Numbers 1:1. A year after Israel's departure from Egypt, the Lord spoke to Moses in the tabernacle in the wilderness of Sinai. On the first day of the second month of that year, he said, God then issues a very specific command. From the whole community of Israel, record the names of all the warriors by their clans and families. List all the men 20 years old or older who are able to go to war. Numbers 1:2-3. That is not vague. That is not poetic. That is not symbolic language. This is a military census. Numbers then walks through each tribe one by one before concluding in Numbers 146 again. The total number was 603,550. Within the narrative itself, there's no ambiguity. The census is taken here at Sinai 1 month after the tabernacle has been set up. Now, let's step back into Exodus. In Exodus 30, God commands Moses to collect atonement money from every Israelite man 20 years old or older, half a shekel per person. This offering is tied directly to Israel's worship and relationship with the Lord. That command is later carried out and recorded in Exodus 38 with this, verses 25-26. The whole community of Israel gave 7,545 pounds of silver as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel. This silver came from the tax collected from each man registered in the census. The tax was 1 bekah, half a shekel, based on the sanctuary shekel. It was collected from 603,550 men who had reached their 20th birthday. All right, same number, same age requirement, same population, but a different purpose. This census isn't about war, it's about atonement and tabernacle construction. So here's the simplest way to picture this. Imagine Moses standing at the entrance of the camp with two clipboards. One clipboard is labeled Tabernacle Contributions. The other clipboard is labeled Men Able to Go to War. Same people walk by, same age requirement, same camp. But two very different questions are being asked. Same head count doesn't mean the same event. It means the same population. This is exactly what Geisler and Howe argue. The census in Exodus is tied to worship and construction. The census in Numbers is tied to organization, movement, and military readiness. So why do the numbers match? The timing explains everything. The tabernacle is erected on the first day of the first month of the second year, Exodus 40:17. The military census is taken 1 month later, Numbers 1:1. In a large nomadic camp over the course of 30 days, the number of adult men would not be expected to change in any significant way. If you've ever worked at a church, a school, or, God help you, the DMV, you already understand this. You can count the same group of people in January for budgeting, and then count them again in February for staffing. Same people, same number, different reason. Now, at this point, we need to address a common critical objection. A commentary associated with the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible Commentary suggests that this high number, 603,550, reflects the story's legendary rather than historical nature. In other words, Numbers didn't get its name because it likes numbers. It got its name because it made some up. That's the claim. But the text itself doesn't act like that's what's happening. Numbers gives us precise dates, tribal breakdowns, leadership structures, and repeated totals. Legendary literature typically doesn't behave this way. Now, let's deal honestly with the rather large elephant in the room. 603,550 fighting men implies a total population of over 2 million Israelites. That is a big number. The MacArthur Study Bible acknowledges this and then explains why attempts to reduce or reinterpret the numbers fail. Some argue that 1,000 really means clan or chief. Others argue the numbers are symbolic. But if 1,000 doesn't mean 1,000 here, Numbers 146 collapses into nonsense. Hundreds of chiefs somehow representing an entire nation. At that point, we're not interpreting the text, we're relabeling it. It's like changing the speed limit sign because you don't like how fast a car is going. The text means what it says, and the theological point isn't Israel's strength, it's God's provision. Now, let's take a look at some supporting commentary. David Gusick, in his Enduring Word commentary on Numbers 1, notes that this census prepares Israel to move, not to sit. Agape Bible Study emphasizes that Numbers marks a transition from receiving the law to preparing for the journey. GotQuestions.org likewise explains that Exodus and Numbers reflect two closely timed but distinct censuses, one religious, one military. Even articles that raise logistical questions, such as Randy Brown's Large Numbers in the Old Testament and James Hoffmeyer's The Number of Israelites in the Exodus, acknowledge that Numbers 1 places this census at Sinai in the second month of the second year. And importantly, even scholars who question the historicity of the numbers still recognize that Numbers 1 presents this as a new census, not a recycled one. So, was this census made here or earlier? Here's the answer. The census of Numbers 1:46 was made here, at Sinai, on the first day of the second month in the second year after the Exodus. It is a distinct census, ordered by God for military organization. The earlier number in Exodus reflects a separate count tied to worship and tabernacle construction. The matching totals aren't suspicious, they're expected. So, why does this matter? Numbers isn't stalling the story, it's packing the bags. The census is the moment Israel stops camping and starts moving. And look, if you stayed with me this far into Numbers chapter 1, congratulations. You are officially more committed than most people's New Year Bible reading plans. The census highlights not Israel's power, but God's faithfulness. As Moses later reminds them, yes, he humbled you by letting you go hungry and then feeding you with manna, to teach you that people do not live by bread alone. Deuteronomy 8, verse 3. So in conclusion, was the census made here or earlier? Here, with intention, with structure, and with theological purpose. It's not a contradiction, it's preparation. Next week, we'll tackle another head-scratching question. Numbers 3:12. If God commanded that firstborn sons from all the tribes be given to him, why was the tribe of Levi given instead? You won't want to miss it. If these episodes are helpful to you, your support is always appreciated, but it's never expected. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Lance Smith. Find more episodes at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers.podbean.com or email me at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers@gmail.com and join our Facebook page as well. Thanks for listening, for sharing the show, and for being part of this community. I'm Lance Smith, wishing you good health, good study, and God's richest blessings. So long, everybody.